Well, tonight we're going for the big one, the big winter target. I'm going for the Orion Nebula.
Before we photograph Orion, let's go ahead and take a look at where it's located. It's right in the middle of the Orion Constellation. The Orion Constellation, of course, has Betelgeuse up here in the upper left. We got Bellatrix coming down from there. The feet of Orion are Safe and Rigel. And right in the middle, right below Orion's belt, which is right here, we've got the Orion Nebula. Now let's figure out how far away that is from Earth, because that's important to know. First of all, let's take a look at the closest star to us, which is this bottom star right here in Orion's belt. This is also where you're going to find the Horsehead and the Flame Nebula. I'll make a video on that later on. But this star right down here is called Alnitak. And Alnitak is 736 light years from Earth. If we were to use today's technology to try to travel to Alnitak, it would take us 13 million years just to get to the closest star here in the Orion Constellation. 13 million years. That's how far away this is from us, and still we can see it in our own sky, which is pretty amazing. Now, if you come down from Orion's belt right here, and it's actually, if you form a triangle from Alnitak, Safe, and Rigel, right in the middle of that triangle, you're going to see three little dots in the sky. On a really dark sky, you can see those. And the middle is Orion's Nebula. So that's what we're focusing on tonight. That's where we're aiming our telescope. Let's take a look.
Now, I've shot the Orion Nebula twice this winter. Both of them were pretty good, but I think I can do better. So tonight, we've got a 25% moon, so it's not going to be super dark. I'm going to go for 2 nights. I'm shooting tonight. I'm going to shoot tomorrow night as well. We're shooting for that great target in the sky, the Orion Nebula. We're getting to the end of the season. It's getting close to the end of February. It's about the middle of February. But right now, Orion's starting in the middle of my sky, and I only get about 3 hours, if that, on this target. So I'm going to go for 2 nights, tonight and tomorrow night. Let me tell you quickly about the gear we're using. Right over here, you can see I've got the EvoStar 72 by Sky-Watcher up on top. I got my Canon 60D right here. I've got an Orion Field Flattener here between the camera and the telescope. This is the Sky-Watcher EQM-35. That's the mount that I'm using today. I've got a guide scope on its way, so this might be my last unguided photograph before the guide scope shows up. Of course, I'll be doing a video on the guide scope. I'll show you exactly what that looks like as well. So here we go. Let's go ahead and try to capture the Orion Nebula.
And if you look over this way, there's Orion, and here's what's so cool about that. Even through this 35mm lens, you can see the Orion Nebula right there in the middle of it. So let me see if I can point out some stuff for you. Betelgeuse, way up here at the top. That's the big star. These 3 right here, that's Orion's belt. If you come straight down below that, these are the 2 feet of Orion right here. But this right there, that's the Orion Nebula, which is pretty awesome. This camera picks it up. I love this Canon EOS-R. Look out that way. That is just light pollution from Santa Clarita all the way up from LA County. And of course you got the moon lighting it up too. The beauty of this backyard is if you go this way, you'll see how dark the sky gets. There is nothing north of me. I'm at the northern end of Los Angeles County.
Here we are in Photoshop, and what we're looking at is my final stacked image. I have run this through my stacking software, and here are the statistics for this image. I have 188 light frames. Those were 1 minute apiece, so this is a 3-hour and 8-minute exposure. I had 62 dark frames and 21 flat frames. Now you want to use the dark frames and the flat frames because that's going to help you with some of the noise problems. It's also going to help with some of the vignetting issues. So what I'm going to do with this image, I'm going to stretch it and mess around with the levels. I'm not going to walk you through that whole process, but I do want to show you just the beginning so you can see how some of the details start to come out. First, I'm going to go to the curves, and you raise up these curves. Now here's the key to this. You really don't want to blow out the heart of that nebula. Notice how the heart's just blown itself out there when I raised up those curves. So I'm going to bring it down here at the top of the curve. Notice how the details come back into the heart of the nebula. As you're editing this, you really want to be careful of that because this is the trickiest part of the Orion Nebula, and that's trying not to blow out the heart here. After I've done a stretch, I'm going to go over here to the levels. And in the levels, I can see right off the bat that my blue channel is way out of whack. So I'm going to bring the blues up, get rid of some of this lost information here. And you can already start to see this thing taking shape. I'm going to do one more level or a curves adjustment for you so you can start to see what the details look like. As I bring the curves up now, you'll notice we're starting to see some of the nebulosity show up at the edge of the Orion Nebula. Also over here in the Running Man Nebula, you start to see some of that nebulosity showing up as well. Now, instead of walking you through this entire process, I'm going to take you right to my final image. Let's bring in the dramatic music, and here is my final Orion Nebula.